Jack, a caregiver, is just too unreliable. He almost caused his employer to fall out of the wheelchair while lifting him, washed the employer with foot cleanser squeezed onto the hair, and fed the employer until food ended up in his eyes. However, despite being such an unreliable caregiver, the employer is very happy. Mr. Jones, a employer, is a disabled billionaire paralyzed from the neck down, relying on caregivers for assistance. Jones has hired many top-tier caregivers but ultimately kept Jack, a black man from the ghetto, who also became his best friend. Jones became permanently disabled due to a parachute accident and had to hire someone to care for him. All the applicants who came for interviews were professional caregivers with higher education, but Jones didn't like any of them. Then Jack arrived, not understanding caregiving and not even wanting the job. He only sought a signature to reject the offer, enabling him to collect unemployment benefits. So, Jack acted nonchalantly, not only joking with the boss but also flirting with a female secretary. Jack's laid-back attitude attracted Jones, who gave him a 1-month trial period. Initially, Jack kept messing up, falling asleep during nursing classes, frequently forgetting his pager, refusing to handle the billionaire's waste, and being clumsy, not understanding how to care for someone. However, when the billionaire went out, Jones wouldn't let him use the specially equipped vehicle for disabled persons, but instead carried him to the luxury car. When neighbors bullied the billionaire by occupying his driveway, Jack confronted them. Relatives warned Jones that such a person lacked empathy and advised him to change caregivers. But what Jones wanted was someone without pity. He had lived a glorious life, and now, even though disabled, the last thing he needed was other sympathetic cases. Only Jack often forgot that he was disabled, joked with him, acted freely, and showed him basic respect. That's why Jones chose Jack. That night, the billionaire fell ill due to long-term medication. He was in pain all over and couldn't move. Jack helped him wipe away sweat and took care of him attentively. He stayed with Jones all night until he woke up in pain again, loudly asking to go outside for some fresh air. It was for him, and Jack lifted him up and pushed the wheelchair outside to breathe. For the first time, the billionaire truly connected with Jack. He told Jack that in the parachute accident, he lost his wife and became paralyzed from the neck down. He said his real disability wasn't being in a wheelchair but losing his beloved. Jones told Jack that his trial period was over and he was officially hired. Jack was very happy. After all, this was his first proper job, and he decided to take it seriously. As time passed, Jack became more adept at caregiving. He no longer made mistakes in joint exercises, bathing, or dressing. Even helping Jones use the toilet became something he could handle. With Jack's company, Jones's spirits improved significantly, and he constantly had a smile on his face. Jack modified his wheelchair into a super speed one, and the two of them raced around. Feeling the thrill of speed, he took Jack to see operas, where Jack burst into laughter at the actors' costumes, making Jones laugh uncontrollably too. Jack's antics, like singing along to classical music, kept Jones entertained endlessly. Since being in a wheelchair, the billionaire's home had never been filled with such lively joy. Jack was like a ray of sunshine, making him feel alive again. Meanwhile, Jack accompanied the billionaire to art exhibitions, where he was introduced to art and even tried his hand at painting. The billionaire even tricked others into believing Jack's painting was modern art, earning them 10,000 euros. One day, Jack accidentally discovered that Jones had been exchanging letters with a pen pal for 6 months. Jack couldn't understand this kind of relationship. All he knew was that if you liked someone, you had to be brave and pursue them. So, he grabbed the letters and dialed the pen pal's number. At first, Jones vehemently refused to talk, not wanting to communicate. Feeling extremely insecure, he feared the other person would reject him because of his disability. So, he replaced the wheelchair photo with one taken before the accident and sent it over. Soon, they agreed to meet. However, when they arrived at the agreed location, Jones hesitated and ended up passing by his pen pal without meeting. The happy days didn't last long before a twist of fate arrived. Jack's younger brother got into trouble and came here to hide. After hearing Jack's story, Jones deeply understood that Jack still had responsibilities to his family and couldn't possibly care for him forever. So, even though it pained him, he decided to let Jack go home. Once Jack returned home, he helped his brother out of trouble and took on the responsibility of supporting his family. He proactively found a job and impressed the interviewers with the art knowledge he learned from the billionaire, successfully landing the position. Meanwhile, after Jack left, Jones hired several professional caregivers again, but none of them were satisfactory. Jones became increasingly unhappy. His temper grew short, forbidding others from touching him and even growing a beard. Jones fell ill again, and the new caregiver hurried in but was promptly chased away by him. The butler had to seek Jack's help. Jack gladly went to assist. When they met, he teased Jones about his beard. He took Jones to the seaside, and seeing the ocean, Jones's mood indeed improved significantly. Jack helped Jones shave his beard, but it turned into a playful game. He first shaved Jones into a rustic countryman, then gave him a nobleman's beard, and finally, he even shaved him into a Nazi. Lastly, Jack took Jones to a restaurant and told him, "I've arranged a date for you." Jones instantly became anxious, and sure enough, his pen pal, who had stood him up before, appeared. When Jones saw him, he finally smiled. Jack knew he couldn't care for Jones forever. Jones had to learn to bravely face his pen pal, himself, and life.